According to the Business Dictionary, leadership is defined as the activity of leading a group of people or an organization or the ability to do this. Leadership involves establishing a clear vision, providing the information, knowledge, and methods to realize that vision, and coordinating and balancing the conflicting interests of all members and stakeholders. Unlike management, leadership cannot be taught, although it may be learned and enhanced through coaching or mentoring. According to Army Doctrine Publication 6-22, leadership is the process of influencing people by providing purpose, directions, and motivation to accomplish the mission and improve the organization. The Army states that the three attributes of a leader are character, the values and identity of a leader, presence, how a leader is perceived by followers and others, and intellect, the mental and social faculties a leader applies in the act of leading. In the United States Army, there are three levels of leadership. The strategic level of leadership is at the major command level at the Pentagon. Strategic leadership influences hundreds of thousands of soldiers. The strategic leaders establish force structure, allocate resources, and communicate strategic vision. Very few ever reach the strategic level of leadership. Because of this, we are going to focus on the organizational and direct levels of leadership. Direct leadership is face-to-face or first-line leadership. It generally occurs in organizations where subordinates see their leaders all the time. Direct leaders develop their subordinates one-on-one and influence the organization indirectly through their subordinates. Direct leaders generally experience more certainty and less complexity than other levels of leadership. Direct leaders are close enough to the action to determine and address problems. The span of the direct leader's influence may range from a few soldiers to a few dozen. Organizational leadership is found at the battalion level through the corps level. One of the main problems with organizational leadership is that because of the many levels of subordinates, it can be difficult for leaders to see and judge immediate results. To help alleviate this issue, organizational leaders use their staff to help them lead their people and manage their resources. The organizational leaders establish policies and create an organizational climate that support their subordinate leaders. The organizational leaders influence several hundred to several thousand soldiers. Let's look at two different organizations, one with direct leadership and one with organizational leadership. More importantly, let's focus on a sergeant first class in charge of their element in each type of organization. The sergeant first class may serve as a platoon sergeant or as the non-commissioned officer in charge of a staff section. A sergeant first class generally has extensive military experience and can make informed decisions in the best interest of the mission and the organization. There is no better example of direct leadership than in an infantry platoon. The top guy in the platoon is the platoon leader. He is a brand new lieutenant that just received his commission. This 20-something-year-old kid is the leader, but, if he is smart, he will listen to the guy that is really in charge, the platoon sergeant. The platoon daddy has been in the army for over 15 years and has seen it all and done it all. There is a good reason he is called the platoon daddy. He is the father figure of the platoon. He is older and wiser than everyone else in the platoon. He will serve as everyone's mentor, including the platoon leader. The platoon sergeant assists the company commander to train the platoon leader. Under the platoon sergeant is the squad leader. This NCO has been in the army about 10 years and has the most face-to-face time with his soldiers than anyone else. Under the squad leader is his two team leaders. The two young NCOs have the difficult position of learning how to be a NCO while taking the title of leader for the first time in their military careers. Each team consists of the team leader and 3 team members. Each squad has 9 infantrymen. Each platoon has 3 riflemen squads. Each infantry platoon also has a heavy weapons squad of 5 men. There is also a forward observer, radio man, and a medic that is attached to the platoon. This platoon sergeant is directly responsible for 35 infantrymen that are under him. He also has to mentor and coach the brand new lieutenant that is technically his boss. Now let's look at the structure of an engineer battalion. The battalion is headed by a lieutenant colonel. He has been in the army for over 20 years and has served in different leadership and staff positions before taking command of the battalion. The battalion commander is assisted in leading his organization by his staff. His staff consists of the personnel section. This section mainly handles the administrative duties, legal reviews and finance. The intelligence section is used to determine what risks are in the area and make an educated guess on what the enemy will do next. The operations section is the heartbeat of the organization. Everything flows through ops. They track where everyone is on the battlefield and what they are doing. The logistics section tracks all of the resources of the organization. They process everything from fuel consumption to meal requests to daily maintenance on bulldozers. One of the most important sections is the communication sections. Without proper communications, all of the other sections will fail. If the battalion commander cannot talk to his companies, the mission will not be accomplished. Let's focus on one of the sections, the logistics section. The top officer in the section is a captain. He is not a logistician. He is an engineer officer. While he will have a great knowledge about what is needed for the engineer projects, he does not have the knowledge base about the complete logistical needs of a battalion. That is why there are 2 warrant officers in the logistical sections. The 2 are subject matter experts on maintenance and equipment accountability. These 2 assist the captain and the battalion commander make decisions based on the allocation of resources. There are also 2 senior NCOs in the section. One is a construction operations NCO. He assists the Capitan in projecting what materials will be needed to complete engineer projects. The other is a senior supply sergeant. His job is to mentor each of the supply sergeants at the companies while also planning and coordinating the logistical needs of the battalion. There is also a junior NCO that works directly with the property accountability warrant officer. There is also a junior soldier that mainly serves as the driver for the captain. As you can see, the sergeant first class can have a very different job depending on where they work. The senior NCO that serves at the platoon level directly influences 3 dozen soldiers and works more closely with subordinates. The decisions and actions of the platoon sergeant will unquestionably affect the lives of over 30 men. The platoon sergeant has more of a downhill approach to leadership, meaning that it is more of a one-way communication style. The company commander gives an order to the platoon leader. The platoon leader gives an order to the platoon sergeant and then the platoon sergeant gives the order to his squad leaders. There is no negotiation. The order is received, then the order is executed. The senior NCO serving on the battalion staff has a much different sphere of influence and leadership dynamic. Let's look at the senior supply sergeant. He does not really have any soldiers that report directly to him. The junior NCO in the section works for the warrant officer. The supply sergeants at the companies report directly to the company commanders. They must comply with requests from the senior supply sergeant, but they don't answer to him. Confusing, isn't it? The senior supply sergeant and the staff gives their advice on the best way to solve a problem to the battalion commander. The battalion commander can either agree with the suggestion or suggest a different course of action. Also, the battalion commander may say that he wants a task accomplished. He should not say exactly how that task should be accomplished. The staff will determine the best course of action to accomplish the commander's intent. Leadership at the organizational level has much more two-way communication. The staff will bounce ideas off each other to determine the best plan to accomplish the mission. For example, the battalion commander might say, "I want to seize that airport and eliminate that enemy currently holding that location." The operations section, with the help of the intelligence section, will determine the best plan to achieve the wishes of the battalion commander. The companies will receive the order from the operations section, such as Alpha Company secure the hill on the east side of the runway. Bravo and Charlie companies will assault from the south while Delta Company will stand by to act as reinforcements. The Alpha Company commander will plan his defensive strategy. First platoon will set up a line along the west side of the hill, second platoon will secure the road around the hill, and third platoon will stand ready to augment first and second platoon if needed. The platoon sergeant will take his troops and equipment and place them where he sees fit to accomplish the mission given to him by the commander. While the 2 senior non-commissioned officers profiled here are the same rank, they have two very different jobs. The platoon sergeant's mission is to directly lead and mentor his 35 soldiers and train them to be the best fighting force that they can be. The senior supply sergeant must assist the battalion commander in creating policies that will indirectly affect the several hundred soldiers in the battalion. But whether the senior non-commissioned officer directly leads a few dozen or indirectly influences several thousand, one thing is the same. The Sergeant First Class is a senior NCO in the United States Army and they all follow the same creed.
The creed of the non-commissioned officer. No!